30 years. That is how long it has been since some areas saw a snowstorm like what is about to hit this weekend. And here is what nobody is telling you. This is not just about snow. We are talking ice storms that could leave millions without power for days, maybe weeks. Right now, winter storm watches are already posted across Dallas, Fort Worth, Oklahoma City, Tulsa, Little Rock, and northern Louisiana. The National Weather Service does not issue these warnings lightly. When they put out watches this early, they know something catastrophic is brewing. But here is the million-dollar question. Where exactly will that line form between the heavy snow and the devastating ice? Because that line, that specific boundary, will determine whether you wake up to a winter wonderland or a disaster zone. And I am going to show you exactly where the models are placing that line in the next 2 minutes. Let me give you the numbers that are coming in right now. 6 inches. That is the baseline we are seeing across Oklahoma, Arkansas, Tennessee, and Kentucky. But wait, because it gets worse. Some areas are now showing a 70 to 80% chance of seeing more than 12 inches, and in isolated spots, we could be looking at 18 inches or more. Think about that for a second. 18 inches of snow in areas that maybe see 1 or 2 inches in a typical winter. Schools will close, roads will be impassable. Emergency services will be overwhelmed. Here is your reward for sticking with me this far. I am about to show you the exact counties that are in the bullseye for the heaviest snow, but first you need to understand what is causing this monster storm. Arctic air is plunging south from Canada right now. We are talking temperatures that will drop into the single digits across Oklahoma and Missouri by Saturday. When you combine that brutally cold air at the surface with moisture streaming in from the Gulf of Mexico, you create the perfect recipe for a historic winter storm. The European model this afternoon just printed out 18 inches across central Tennessee and Kentucky. The GFS model is showing similar numbers. When multiple forecast models agree on extreme snowfall totals, that is when meteorologists start paying very close attention. But here's what concerns me most. South of that heavy snow band, we are looking at freezing rain. Not just a little bit. Some models are showing 2 inches of ice accretion in southern Arkansas. Let me put that in perspective for you. 1/4 inch of ice can snap tree branches and bring down power lines. 2 inches? That will devastate the power grid. Houston, you need to hear this. The freezing rain line is creeping dangerously close to your area, especially north of the city. The latest models show ice accumulation starting to build as that Arctic air bleeds southward. Even if you do not get the worst of it, you could still see enough ice to cause major problems. Now, where is this storm headed after it tears through the south? The models are trending northward. Delaware, Maryland, southern New Jersey. You are now in the crosshairs for more than 12 inches of snow. Parts of Virginia could see similar totals. The odds keep climbing with each new model run. Let me show you what is happening minute by minute. Thursday night into Friday, that Arctic air drops through the Dakotas. Temperatures will plunge below zero. Then Friday into Saturday, the cold air pushes into Texas, setting the stage for moisture to overrun that cold dome. By Saturday morning, the snow and ice begin in earnest across Oklahoma and Arkansas. Saturday afternoon becomes the critical window. Memphis should stay mostly snow. Nashville, all snow. But here's the tricky part. If you are in Tuscaloosa, you might see freezing rain transition to plain rain as warmer air tries to push north on the west side of the Appalachian Mountains. That warm air surge could dramatically reduce snow totals and increase ice accumulation. Sunday morning, the coastal low intensifies. That is when the Northeast gets hammered. Heavy snow spreads into West Virginia, Western Virginia, and parts of North Carolina. The mountains will act as a barrier, keeping that cold air locked in place east of the peaks. Here is something most weather reports will not tell you. This is a Miller B setup. That is a specific storm track where moisture overruns cold air that is damming along the eastern slopes of the Appalachians. These types of storms are notorious for producing extremely heavy snow in narrow bands and catastrophic ice storms just to the south. Want to know the areas with the highest risk right now? Eastern Kentucky, Central Tennessee, Northern Arkansas, and Southern Missouri top the list for the heaviest snow. We are talking about a 70 to 80% probability of seeing more than 12 inches. Some spots could hit 24 inches if everything lines up perfectly. But remember that line I mentioned earlier? Here is why it matters so much. 50 miles. That is the difference between getting crushed with 2 feet of snow or dealing with a crippling ice storm. And right now, the models are still wobbling on exactly where that line sets up. The ensemble guidance uses more than 50 different model runs to calculate probabilities. That gives us a much better picture than any single forecast model. And what those ensembles are showing should grab your attention. The sweet spot for extreme snow keeps showing up from eastern Oklahoma through Arkansas and into Tennessee and Kentucky. Now let me talk about something critical: power outages. When ice accumulates on power lines, it does not take much to bring the whole system down. Trees weighted down with ice will fall onto lines. Utility poles will snap. And here is the scary part. With temperatures staying in the teens and 20s after the storm, repair crews will struggle to restore power quickly. If you lose power during this event and temperatures are in the teens, that becomes a life-threatening situation within hours. Your home will lose heat fast. Pipes will freeze and burst. You need to prepare now, not when the storm is already here. What should you do right now today to get ready? Stock up on non-perishable food, at least a week's worth. Fill up your gas tank. Make sure you have batteries, flashlights, and a battery-powered radio. If you have a fireplace, stock up on firewood. Charge all your devices fully before the storm hits. Here is what the models are not showing accurately: melting and runoff. When you see forecasts for 2 inches of ice, understand that models do not account for any melting or compaction. Even 1 inch of ice will cause massive problems. Power companies are already pre-positioning crews, and that tells you everything you need to know about how serious they view this threat. Let us talk about travel. If you have plans to drive through Oklahoma, Arkansas, Tennessee, Kentucky, or any of the affected areas this weekend, cancel them now. I am not being dramatic. Roads will be impassable. Interstate highways will shut down. Even if you have 4-wheel drive, you cannot drive on 2 inches of ice. Airlines are watching this closely too. Expect massive flight cancellations at major hubs like Dallas-Fort Worth, Nashville, and Charlotte if the storm tracks as forecast. If you have to fly this weekend, build in extra time and have backup plans. Here is something that might surprise you. Snow ratios. When temperatures are at 0 degrees, snow can fall at ratios of 15 to 1 or even 18 to 1. That means 1 inch of liquid precipitation produces 15 to 18 inches of snow. That is why these extreme snow totals are not just possible, but likely in the coldest zones. The temperature profile tells the whole story. At the surface, we will have temperatures in the single digits to low 20s, but 5,000 feet up in the atmosphere, temperatures will be hovering around 32 to 40 degrees. That creates a melting layer. Snow falls from the clouds, melts into rain in that warm layer, then refreezes into ice pellets or freezing rain when it hits the frigid air near the ground. This temperature setup is why ice storms are so difficult to forecast precisely. A shift of just 2 or 3 degrees at any level of the atmosphere completely changes what falls from the sky. Snow, sleet, freezing rain, or plain rain. Each scenario creates vastly different impacts. Now here is what happens after the storm passes. The cold air does not leave. Models show temperatures staying well below freezing through Tuesday, maybe into Wednesday. Fresh snow on the ground will act as a giant refrigerator, keeping temperatures suppressed. Some areas could see lows dropping below 0 early Tuesday morning. For the Deep South, there is some good news buried in these forecasts. Texas and the southern tier should start warming up by Monday and Tuesday. You will see some melting, which helps with cleanup and recovery. But for areas that get heavy snow across the Ohio Valley and Mid-Atlantic, that snow is going to stick around for a while. Let me address the bust potential because it is real. This storm could absolutely bust in certain locations. The exact track of that low-pressure system will determine everything. If it shifts 50 miles north, areas expecting heavy snow might get sleet and ice instead. If it shifts south, the heavy snow band moves with it. That is why you cannot lock into one specific forecast right now. Instead, focus on the overall pattern and the range of possibilities. Know that your area is in the threat zone and prepare for the worst-case scenario. Hope for the best, but plan for the worst. The operational models are all over the map with specific details, and that is normal this far out from the event. The European model shifted north today. The GFS shifted south at midday, then back north this afternoon. These wobbles will continue until the storm actually develops. What I am watching most closely over the next 48 hours is where the high-pressure system positions itself. That Arctic high driving south from Canada will dictate where the cold air locks in place. If it slides further east, the snow band shifts east. If it stays west, the heavy snow stays west. Confidence is growing that this will be a major winter storm. The question is not if anymore. The question is where each specific type of precipitation falls. The National Weather Service will start issuing more watches, warnings, and advisories as confidence increases in the exact track. Here is what I need you to understand about ice storms specifically. They are more dangerous than snowstorms in many ways. You cannot plow ice, you cannot salt it away when temperatures are in the teens. It accumulates on every surface. Tree branches sag and snap. Power lines ice over and break. Roads become skating rinks. During the last major ice storm to hit this region, over 1 million people lost power. Some stayed without electricity for more than 2 weeks. Think about that. 2 weeks without heat in January. That is not just an inconvenience. That is a survival situation. Emergency management agencies across the South are already activating their winter storm protocols. They are moving equipment into position. They are checking on shelters. They are coordinating with utility companies. When you see this level of preparation days before a storm, trust that they know something significant is coming. Let me give you the timeline one more time because this is critical. Thursday night, Arctic air arrives in the northern plains. Friday, the cold spreads into the Midwest and begins pushing into Texas. Friday night into Saturday morning, moisture starts to interact with that cold air. Saturday afternoon and evening, heavy snow and ice break out across Oklahoma, Arkansas, Tennessee, and Kentucky. Sunday, the storm moves east, affecting the mid-Atlantic and possibly the northeast. Monday, the system finally exits off the coast. Now, not everywhere will see the same impacts. Some of you watching this will get missed entirely. Some will see light snow, some will see moderate snow, and some will get absolutely crushed with historic totals. The challenge is figuring out which category you fall into. This is where you come in. Drop a comment right now telling me where you are watching from. Your city, your state. I will be updating forecasts multiple times over the next several days, and I want to give you the most specific information for your location. The more people who engage, the better I can tailor the updates to where you actually live. The blended model data gives us the best overall picture right now. It smooths out the extremes from individual models and shows the most likely outcome. And what is it showing? More than 12 inches of snow across West Virginia, northern North Carolina, Tennessee, Kentucky, Maryland, Delaware, and even southern New Jersey. That is a massive swath of the country about to get buried in snow. We are talking tens of millions of people affected, hundreds of miles of major interstates shut down, thousands of flights canceled. This will be the biggest winter weather story of the season so far, no question. Here is what I am tracking for the 3-day period after the storm. Bitterly cold temperatures will settle in across the entire affected region. Highs will struggle to reach the 20s and 30s. Overnight lows will drop into the single digits, possibly below zero in many locations. With a fresh snowpack on the ground acting as insulation, those temperatures will stay locked in place. If you experience power outages with these temperatures, you have a serious problem. Hypothermia becomes a real risk. Carbon monoxide poisoning increases as people use generators incorrectly or burn things indoors to stay warm. Emergency rooms see a spike in cold-related injuries and illnesses. Make sure you have a plan for staying warm if the power goes out. Know where your nearest warming shelter is located. Have multiple ways to stay informed beyond just your cell phone, because towers can go down during ice storms. A battery-powered weather radio could literally save your life. Now let me address the elephant in the room. Climate change. How does it factor into a winter storm like this? The Arctic is warming faster than the rest of the planet, which can actually make these extreme cold outbreaks more likely. The jet stream becomes wavier, allowing Arctic air to plunge further south than it used to. So yes, we can see extreme cold and snow events even as the planet overall warms. But the bottom line is this. Regardless of the why, we have to deal with the what. And what we are dealing with is a potentially historic winter storm bearing down on a huge section of the country. The GFS model from this afternoon showed something wild. It tried to print nearly 2 to 3 feet of snow from eastern Tennessee into North Carolina. Now, I do not think we will see exactly that much, but the fact that a major forecast model is even suggesting those totals should make you sit up and pay attention. Here is the thing about forecast models. They are incredibly sophisticated computer programs that solve millions of equations to simulate the atmosphere, but they are not perfect. Small errors in the initial conditions can lead to big differences in the forecast, especially for storm systems that are still days away. That is why meteorologists look at trends across multiple model runs and multiple different models. If they are all showing a major winter storm in roughly the same area, we can be confident that something significant is going to happen. The exact details will come into focus as we get closer. I have been tracking weather for decades, and I have seen storms like this before. They are memorable. They are the ones people talk about for years. Where were you during the big ice storm? Do you remember when we got 2 feet of snow? These become defining moments for communities. What separates a manageable winter storm from a disaster? Preparation. The communities that fare best are the ones where people take the warnings seriously, where folks stock up on supplies before the shelves empty, where utility companies pre-position crews and equipment, where emergency managers activate their plans early. You still have time to prepare. Use it wisely. Do not wait until Friday when everyone else is panic buying at the grocery store. Do not wait until Saturday morning when the snow is already falling. Do it today. Do it tomorrow at the latest. Let me paint you a picture of what Saturday could look like. You wake up, look outside, and snow is already coming down. Not just flurries, heavy snow, the kind that accumulates an inch or two per hour. By mid-morning, roads are completely covered. Snowplows cannot keep up. By afternoon, you have 6 inches on the ground and it is still snowing hard. Meanwhile, 100 miles to your south, freezing rain is coating everything. Trees are bending under the weight. You hear a crack, then see sparks as a tree limb takes down a power line. The lights flicker once, twice, then go out, and the temperature outside is 15 degrees. This is not fear-mongering. This is the reality of what could happen to millions of people this weekend based on what the forecast models are showing. My job is not to scare you. My job is to inform you so you can make smart decisions to keep yourself and your family safe. Now, the good news. Not everyone will see the worst-case scenario. Some areas will see lighter amounts. Some will see the storm track further away than expected. But if you are in the threat zone, you need to prepare as if you will see the worst. You can always eat the extra food you bought. You cannot will food into existence if you are snowed in for 3 days. Here is what I will be watching most closely over the next 24 hours. Does the European model maintain its northward trend? Does the GFS continue to wobble, or does it lock onto a solution? Do the ensemble members start to cluster more tightly around a specific track? These are the signals that will tell us if confidence is increasing. Remember, weather forecasting is as much art as science, especially with complex winter storms. The science gives us the models and the data. The art is interpreting that data, understanding the strengths and weaknesses of different models, and communicating the forecast in a way that helps people make decisions. I want you to know something important. I am not here to hype this storm. I am not trying to get clicks or views by exaggerating the threat. What I am trying to do is give you the straight facts about what the data is showing. You deserve honest, accurate information, not clickbait fear-mongering. The old-timers who have followed weather for years know that some forecasters overhype every storm that comes along. They cry wolf so many times that people stop listening. That is not my style. When I tell you a storm is serious, it is because the data backs it up. When I tell you to prepare, it is because the risk is real. This storm has the potential to produce snowfall totals we have not seen in some of these areas in 30 years or more. It has the potential to produce ice accumulations that could knock out power for weeks. Those are facts based on what the models are showing, not hype. So here is my challenge to you. Take this seriously, but do not panic. Prepare methodically, make your lists, check your supplies, charge your devices, fill your prescriptions, check on your elderly neighbors, bring your pets inside. Do all the things you know you should do and do them calmly and deliberately. The storm is still days away. You have time, But do not squander that time. Use it wisely. Because once this storm arrives, it is too late to prepare. You will be dealing with whatever situation you find yourself in with whatever supplies you have on hand. Let me wrap up with this. Over the next few days, I will be posting constant updates as new model data comes in. I will refine the forecast. I will narrow down the specific areas most at risk. I will give you hour-by-hour timelines as we get closer. But I need you to do something for me right now. Comment below with your location. Tell me what city and state you are in. That helps me understand where my audience is and allows me to provide more targeted information in future updates. Plus, it helps build a community of people all tracking this storm together. This is going to be a significant winter weather event. The exact magnitude and location of the worst impacts are still being determined. But make no mistake, this storm will affect millions of people across a huge section of the country. Stay tuned, stay prepared, and stay safe. The next update is coming soon, and it will have even more specific information about what to expect and when to expect it. This is just the beginning of this